They tell them back in like noise. Occasionally,
Wow.
the assistant facilities that are open, people should move. But now it's like the middle of this house.
We used to be
Right down
in
to the
Greendale. What, how old are you? Yeah, I think your brother was Mike Clark. He was, I would have graduated in 79.
No, yeah, so we should be all set now. All right, let's call this meeting of the village board to order. Start out with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, trustee Cody Shell.
Present.
Trustee Clark.
Here.
Trustee Brenner is absent, excused. Attorney Schober, President Lysick. Clerk Ford.
Here.
Trustee Goodman.
Here.
Trustee Khan.
It's just
Trustee Long.
jumping up and down.
Engineer Rao.
Here.
Hines here. Superintendent, librarian. Let's move along. Public comments? Is there any public comments? Stand up, state your name, address. Keep it about 2 minutes. If there are no public comments, I would like to jumble the agenda a bit if I can skip ahead of reports and try and get some of our guests out of here early. We will, that's okay, right?
Yep, if nobody objects, you're able to do it. So without objection, then you're good.
All right, I would like to move to new business, item N. Okay? That's the only item on here. Consideration and possible action on resolution designating approving a project plan amendment for the tax incremental district number 1 in the village of Big Bend, Wisconsin. And that is all the way at the back of your packet in a paper clip. Dawn, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for allowing me to get this early and depart early. So you've got a copy of the project plan. This went before a public hearing and the plan commission on August 26th, last week. And a little bit about district number 1. It was created in the village back in 2013 to promote development along I-43, I-164 interchange. And the goal was, and the recognition was, that water and sewer needed to be brought to the site. Well, back then, there was the I-164 improvements were going to be done by the DOT, and there was a piece of piping that was needed to be put into the ground before those improvements were made. So that was done. We created the district at that time, so the cost of that could be eligible and potentially recovered from future investments in the tax increment district. It's never previously been amended. The purpose of this amendment is to add some project cost. There is potential for an industrial development in the area, and because sewer and water are not to the site yet, there's a need for a temporary water system and storage system so they can provide fire protection to the building and also provide wastewater treatment on a temporary basis. So that development is anticipated to bring about, let's see, I'll cut it down here, about $8 million of new value to the site. So the cost that we've identified for that are about $968,000 to provide the mound system, the holding tank for that particular development. One of the other things that we did in this plan is we know that future infrastructure, water and sewer, need to be identified as a possible project cost. We've gone ahead and put that in this plan, so you don't have to go back and amend it again when you're ready to move forward with that water plan. So we haven't shown any financing for report, we're not showing any proposed development as a result of that, but we wanted to just identify it as a potential future cost in the plan. The other action that took place is we convened the joint review board on the 26th. From feedback from the members of that body, we had intended to add some additional territory south of the current district boundaries. But there was feedback from that body that they weren't in favor of adding that territory at this time. Part of it is currently platted for residential. They were concerned that residential could develop without TIF assistance, as well as they'd like to see it, if it's going to be used for a different purpose in the future, that zone would take place first. So we removed the additional territory and we're just amending the TID for these additional project costs. The other action that the joint review board took is we requested a 3-year extension on this district to allow 3 additional years to help in recovering any project costs, and they granted that, so that is going to apply to the district as well. So the plan has been prepared in accordance with the state statutes requirement. The only development we're representing at this time, in addition to what's currently out there, is the addition of that $8 million for this, I guess it's really kind of industrial commercial development. It will house an office facility for an industrial manufacturing operation. So I'm happy to walk through the plan. The boundaries as were adopted back in 2013 are identified in the document on page 7. We're not changing any of that at this time. The original plan was to bring in some territory on that map where the words Village of Big Bend, it would have been the parcels to the south of that. We've removed it from the plan now, and if the village chooses to make any zoning changes in the future, for purposes of industrial development, that would be considered at that time. I'm happy to answer any questions or talk about any of the schedules that are in the plan. Any member of the board has some. If this body approves this document this evening, it will go back one more time to the joint review board. We need to get 3 of the 5 members in favor of the plan. I think that we would certainly have that had we left the territory in. I don't think we would have gotten that favorable vote. From there, this would be filed with the Department of Revenue, and they would acknowledge that these additional projects could be undertaken. And there's that new development. I guess another important thing to understand is the development that is taking place, the village will not be issuing any additional debt for that. The developer will put the cost in themselves and recover it with their revenues that they generate, and the new taxes they generate on their development, or a portion of those taxes, the balance coming back to the district. So the risk of the developer, for them to get paid, they have to perform, no additional obligations will be undertaken by the village.
Why do you feel that the additional property that hasn't been approved, if that had been proposed, if this wouldn't have been approved? Why do you feel that?
At the joint review board meeting, we had the other members of the board said that, number one, what those properties are platted for now, or as they sit now, they don't fit as residential uses. The lots are too big, you can't put that in the TID. So they wouldn't have approved any plan with those being added. Now, we're allowed to add 4 times.
Add or
amend it,
subtract 4 times,
right,
yeah, per territory.
change the boundary. So we still have that ability in the future to add them if we rezone them into smaller lots or change it to commercial or industrial or anything else. So to get this to go through now, to get everything ready for hopefully a spring groundbreaking and give us our other 3 years, this is where we're at. We're not spending any money outside of, what we already agreed to, pay Ehlers to take care of this.
And that's a good point, and I should have mentioned that. Under the Wisconsin law, this type of district, to provide any sort of assistance or provide anything that benefits residential development, it has to have a density of at least 3 units an acre. And the way that parcel is platted now, it's for well and septic, so it's larger than that. So it wouldn't qualify to be in the district for future purposes of residential. Now, that zoning changes in that residential, or that sizing of those lots change, then the overlapping taxing entities will be supported.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Thanks, Sean.
Do you need a motion?
Well, we'll need a motion to approve this resolution. I'm asking if I have to read the entire. I didn't have it in mind either. Yeah. Resolution 21-02 is a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan of tax incremental district number 1, Village of Big Bend, Wisconsin. And it just details out in all the legal language what's in this packet and what Dawn just shared with us. No, they're not, somehow they're not in the packets, they were in the emailed packets, so.
They were, but I got the new TID thing this morning, and I bet you it wasn't on that same PDF.
Would be possible, let's just get it back together. I don't know if the numbers don't have it. Some of them maybe.
Yeah.
It's just a copy.
I have an additional copy.
That's right. Can make it quick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I know exactly how to phrase this, but I'm going to try my best. But seeing the emails that went back and forth yesterday, Mr. Shirley, do you feel that you're, that you guys, your firm indicated that you weren't heavily experienced with the TIF or the TID legal language moving forward? So I guess my question is we're getting ready to basically acknowledge everything that Nailers has put together and move forward. Your firm did prepare a letter of acknowledgement that the TIF has been reviewed and that you believe that the amended plan is complete and complies with the statutes. I just want to make sure that that is correct, because there was some very affirmative language yesterday that you guys weren't 100% into that you have a little experience with the TIF developments and you need special counsel on board to accept responsibility for all TIF related legal issues.
Yeah, I think the emails are accurate, and I saw a letter today, which Mike authored, and based on our limited knowledge in this area of law, we're making that statement at this point in time. It was provided us with the information, but we recommended quite a while ago that the village retain counsel.
I guess that's what I'm asking though, because there's a letter in here that basically states that you guys are comfortable with the amended project plan. And I'm just wanting to make sure that it's a little contradictory to what was going around with the emails yesterday.
The letter indicates that we believe it complies with statute, the statutory requirements, and but that's based on our limited knowledge of the area of law. So.
Okay.
I think that question would be a lot more on point if we were just first creating it. TID already existed, and we were doing what I guess I would consider a very simple amendment, adding the 3 years, which was kind of a given, and amending in one development, which, that's all Ayler's. That's what they do, that's their strong suit. This
Yeah.
is just,
Right.
we are looking at 2 other attorneys to bring on board, not 2, but 1 each. And that'll be available probably next meeting. We'll look at their credentials and decide what we want to do.
I would tend to agree with you. It was just strange timing to see that email come across at the same time that there's a letter basically affirmating that, that they feel comfortable with the amendments, even though they sent out a very elongated email yesterday stating that they weren't.
Yeah,
That email was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it said, we don't have the experience to say if it's okay or not.
yeah. And that's one of the requirements, is that there be an opinion, and based on what we've observed, we're comfortable making an opinion at this point.
Okay. All right.
And the issue, a similar issue came up probably a couple of years ago, and I remember getting somewhat of a guarded opinion as to, based on our knowledge in that area of law, that we felt it was we were comfortable providing that. But again, as you move forward with the details and making sure you're in compliance with that, we'd still recommend separate counsel. I agree with Village President, this is a minimal change to what was already previously adopted. But there's a lot more moving forward that we still recommend that we contain separate counsel for.
Everybody's got a copy of the resolution in front of them. I don't know if you've had time to read through.
It's just a generic thing, because it says a statement of the proposed plan for relocation of any persons to be displaced. Who's being displaced?
Are you looking at page 1?
Yeah.
That's boilerplate. Page 2 is all the proposed amendment or the action that we're doing.
And it says the longest we can extend is 3 years,
Yep.
correct? If we would do it next year, then we can only do 2 years. Is that right?
You cannot extend it any longer than the 3 that we've done.
It's just 3 onto the end, no matter what.
Yeah, 3 on the end no matter what. And we've gotten the approval from the joint review board to give you that 3 years extension. And the state has already approved that earlier this week.
I don't know if this is a mistake in here or not, but inside of the resolution under whereas statement number 1, 2, 3, 4. It says amendment will amend the categories, locations, cost, project cost to be made as permitted under Wisconsin statute section 66.1005. Everything else in here is 66.1105. Should that be 1105 or is 1005 correct? Everything else that I'm looking at says 1105, except for that one.
Where's the whereas you're referring to?
It's on the front page of the resolution. There's
Fourth whereas.
yeah, the fourth whereas.
You're right, it should be 1105. Good catch.
I'm not sure what we've been ratified under. They got us in a casino. Anybody have any other questions on the proposed resolution?
I can confirm that the correction is correct, that order should be.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-02
As amended.
as amended.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, thank you, Don. We will now move to agenda item 6B. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the Cajun Phil site in general, as well as possibly using their surety bond to bring the site into compliance. We have Engineer Will Hine, Superintendent Pedersen have been out there this week multiple times. Can you please fill the board in on your findings?
Do I need to stand up and come to the lectern, or can I sit?
You can sit.
Okay, thank you. Eric and I were out there 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. As you all know, mid-August, letter was sent to the Cations, basically giving them until the 31st of August to have the site vegetated. We arrived at the site, and I'm not going to say that it was vegetated, but it's vegetating. It's certainly not past tense, but they are working on it. They are throwing some water on it. It's coming in, but it's not vegetated. It's not going to meet the definition that the DNR put forth, which is 70% across the site. I know that Eric went back there at 4 o'clock because we gave them some direction to do some additional mulching, and I'm told that that was completed to your satisfaction. I'm kind of torn here because I know one of the things that was in that letter that we sent them on the 17th of August was the village was considering using the surety to stabilize the site. And I'm a little bit torn because I know that Eric's gone out and he's gotten a couple contractors that have agreed to do the work. I'm just not sure bringing a contractor in at this point to basically water the grass is going to be a real good use of the village funds, if you want my 2 cents. I'll defer to Eric at this point if he has something different, because, you know, we have, I would say you have 6 weeks of growing season left right now. By October 15th, you're gonna start to see that frost. The ground temperature is gonna dip below 52 degrees, which is what's necessary to germinate grass. There is time, as long as they continue to diligently water, I think the site will fill in. But that's my 2 cents, and I'm not the village board.
Anything to add?
You know, when we showed up on Wednesday, they were doing their best to get water down. The site is, I mean, there's probably like 3/4 to an inch of new grass coming up on the area that was affected. There were some areas that were a little thin, and I told them I'm coming back at 4 and they better be done. They were done. It's just Mother Nature needs to help here. This site needs water, and it was plagued with too much water every year except this year. And now we're doing, you know, they're doing everything they can to put down as much water as possible. They're pumping out of the lower pond, and they're bringing, what is it, a 3,000 gallon or 2,000 gallon?
I think it's 1,700.
1,700 gallon tanker, spraying out with a big fire hose. Mother Nature's gotta help us. If you look, coming here tonight, the corn across the street from me is pretty much curled up. So it's not that the site is not vegetated, it's getting there, but we need some help.
If I can just add in something, we have been watering the site on a twice daily basis. It takes about 4.5 hours to fill the tank up on the water truck, about an hour to empty it, maybe an hour and a half. So we fill it overnight, and then we fill it in the morning once we've sprayed, come back in the evening, continue watering the site, and then fill the tank overnight. There is more grass than what Will and Eric saw yesterday. Just it's popping up, and we do have I want to say even distribution of grass. We'd like it to be thicker, but it is over the whole site, and it's coming in the areas where we put in. We brought in 5 quad axle trucks of good topsoil. I think it was from a golf course, but I found about 4 golf balls. Anyway, it was good soil. We were able to spread it nicely, and with the soil that was already existing, we have more than the required 3-inch base of soil, and it is taking. It's just you know, if we had a good gentle rainfall that was enduring for several hours, we'd be in great shape. Right now we're going to be in good shape because what we're doing is enough to get it to germinate and to
How much
cover
of
the
that
site.
17 acres of phase 2 can you hit with 1,700 gallons? Each time you water, how much
Yeah.
do you cover?
What we're doing right now, what was recommended by our landscaper, was to just dampen the newly planted grass seed, because that's what helps it to
Right.
germinate the best. I've got 5 hoses on the truck, and we're using fire hoses rather than drive the truck, because the wheels driving on the new grass would damage it. So I drag the hoses around, and I get from one side to the other. I'm going to say it's probably 400 by 400, and I think that's
I guess the bottom line is,
About 4
can you
acres.
cover all the newly seeded areas in 2 fillings?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
We don't want them driving the truck anymore.
It's all right.
Grass, but they come around from the north side and they're able to get that. They can come in partway in the middle, and they can come in off of National and get that. Again, it's not 17 acres they need to water. It's a smaller area, a lot smaller area than that is what we need to take. But if he continues to keep putting water down, because I told him I will be there every second day to make sure water's going down on that thing, and you'll have grass coming up. It's just, I was in Lake Park today.
the depth on that lake, the water's gone, you know, when you live there, it's gone down substantially. And even out here by the river, it's gone down quite a bit.
We'll continue doing the watering, and we're planning to put additional seed over the whole area because the birds like the grass seed as much as the ground does, and that's been an ongoing battle with us. So we just want to make sure that we have enough coverage, and so we're planning to reseed and fertilize the areas that have been mulched.
And let me back that up a little bit too. They do have a problem up there with geese, coming and eating all the new stuff off. Got a lot of birds up there are taking seed. The other problem they have up there is the wind. It's never a calm day up there. But I think it's coming along. I just don't see any reason to have a contractor come in and water. I can't see that.
I don't know what it would benefit. They're gonna truck in water and it's gonna have, you know, it's gonna be city water. It'll have chlorine and fluoride in it. That's not really the best for growing baby grass.
Okay, so what are we looking for?
I'm looking for any opinions or questions out of the village board. And do we need to,
I think we've made progress, which is what we've asked for. We're on the right path, is what I'm hearing. I'll make a motion to table.
review again at next meeting?
Yes.
Second that.
Any further discussion?
Just a question, would there be some sort of triggering event that our folks would make a recommendation to take action sooner? I mean, I guess we couldn't.
I would suppose if Eric's up there every 2 days inspecting or, you know, taking a look at it, if the site regresses at all,
Yeah,
as long as it's progressing, we're in good shape.
I don't disagree. I mean, if a contractor would be doing what they're doing,
Right.
doesn't seem this much good to bring something in at this point.
I don't think so either.
We'll review next meeting and go from there. We have
Very good.
to make a
I
decision
just
on
didn't
what
want to,
Right.
time if we saw some need in the do.
We're not gonna be able to do anything then, because if we have 6 weeks of growing season left, that takes us down to
You'll have two. You'll have two.
Or 2 weeks from now, when you meet.
We could meet mid-month if we had to. Especially if there's significant progress or regression.
I mean, I do agree that they're making progress. I'm with Michelle on that. I'm not
Right.
against it. I'm just making sure everybody understands that 4 weeks, we're not really gonna be able to do much with the landscaper anyway.
But if we have Eric give us an update in 2 weeks, it's not making any progress and we need to take action, we can always call a meeting together. And then we could have 4 weeks.
I will know within a week whether we need to meet in 2, so we can post an agenda accordingly. So we have a motion and a second.
Who was the second?
Jeff? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Just as a question for procedure, does that mean you won't be discussing number H under new business?
That is correct. There will be no action on number 8, or letter H for new business.
All right, we look forward to bringing you good news at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Make it rain.
Okay.
Just not on Sundays.
Yes. Gentle rain except on Sundays.
There you go.
Okay, I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to see?
No,
Okay.
I need to go to item K, a new business, but I need a few minutes to read an email from the planner that just came over. Can we start out with reports, please? Fire department monthly report. Chief, good evening.
Hi, how you doing? So we had 11 calls for the month. On October 12th, the fire department participated in National Night Out. We borrowed customers' safety hose and took people through explaining fire safety in the home. We also had our squirt house set up and public relation table. Flight for Life was scheduled to land and they were overhead circling the last pass and they had to divert for a call in Kenosha. Our state ambulance inspection was held on Tuesday and that passed. Everything's good on there, on both ambulances. On Saturday, August 28th, members of the fire department attended Vince Single's celebration of life at Kelly's Bleachers. We stood by with a brass rated ambulance for the fireworks afterwards as well. Any questions?
You could have offloaded the water occasion afterwards to empty it. Just a suggestion. If you guys are looking for training, you could offload water there.
Right.
Just a thought.
Chief, have you guys got your pumps tested this year yet?
No, it's gonna happen, I believe it's going to be anywhere between the 14th and 16th of the month.
Of this month of September?
I believe it was this month. I just got an email and I looked at it at work quickly this morning.
Chief, you don't have to look it up right now, but if you could drop me a note and let me know, I would very much appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be 15th, 16th, or 17th. They're gonna coordinate with Bill Funk on that, because he's around. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Chief. Item 3B, Library Monthly Report. Good evening, Carla.
I'm going to give you a short report because half of this has to do with the item that's on the agenda later. But I ended our summer program. It's very quiet around the library. I miss all the people. We had 428 people sign up for a reading program, and that is different than the people that walk through the door. That's the ones that actually participate. We're estimating about 500 to 600 books were checked out of our library for these programs. And we also had a booth at National Night Out, manned by 3 library staff and 4 volunteers. We counted 255 people. Apparently there were less in attendance, but our people came back a lot for the candy. We also have an app now that's active, Cafe app. You can download it and you can have your own account and your own phone. And now I'm able to push notifications on that, which is kind of nice for emergency closings. We have a streaming service through the library. It's free to you as a user. We pay for it. It's supported partially by a grant. Next year will probably cost us about $400. It wasn't something I voted for, but I was outnumbered by the other libraries. And now, from now on, going forward, I'm going to start including overdrive numbers on your sheet, because I found out that it makes up about 60% of our use, and those are electronic checkouts. It's not like buying it. So it's significant. I wish we could get money for it. And the last comment is we have a $50 donation from a Sue Blazek from Heartland in memory of a Sarah Zwerlein. I don't know either person, but I did send a thank you note. It was nice to get that.
Nice.
Any questions?
Thank you very much. Item 3C, Police Department Monthly Report.
Good evening, how's
How are you doing,
everybody?
Chief? Good. Happy birthday.
Should we say?
Happy birthday.
Oh, here. I got that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hang on, let me bring
We're supposed to get donuts.
Chief got a birthday present too.
Yeah, you can still see the glitter on me from it, it was real close.
Part of the plan, Chief, part of the plan.
All right, reports are in front of you, 1 assault, 1 fraud, 1 intoxicated driver, 3 total offenses, 2 adults, 117 traffic stops, 68 citations, 1 non-traffic citation, 304 calls for service, 53 business checks, 4 accidents, and 9 calls that were one of the fire department and EMS calls. At our National Night Out, it was a great event. My thank you to everybody that was involved. Eric and his team was very helpful, and we appreciate that with the help of the figure tables, the tents, and everything else he did for us, Eric. Please pass that on to Chuck and your kid. Narratives are on the next 2 pages. Or next page, I should say. Assists other agencies, 3 hours and 41 minutes. For court, 46 initial appearances for Big Ben, 12 for
Village of Waukesha, and the state debt collection numbers are at the bottom there, with the totals being at the very bottom in red. We're working with the school, and you guys approved the $2,800 for the beacon lights to enhance our intersection of Clark and Edgewood. Thank you, whoever said that. Ours is approved, the school went up a little price, the school got their $2,800 approved. We're waiting for Vernon to make a decision on theirs. Interesting thing is that I get an email from somebody when I asked about it, that said I need to talk to my board because we're not doing anything with it. So I kind of emailed back and said, well, we already approved our portion, we're just waiting for Vernon to do theirs. I don't think we can put a price on the safety of the kids, so hopefully if somebody knows somebody in Vernon, maybe we can nudge them along, or we're gonna find somewhere else to get the $2,800 and nudge it along anyhow. But I think, you know, that school is in their village. A lot of those kids are their kids. I would think that they would want the safety to be enhanced for their kids, just like we're doing for us.
Can we have a complainant that sent the complaint to us, send it, the same one to them?
The what?
The complainant,
I think everybody was copied in on that, yeah.
were they?
The one that I sent?
No, the video from the,
Oh, that
Not
one
the
I
video,
sent?
the actual letter.
well, one of the, yeah, they were attached together. At least that's the only one I saw.
We talked about that, and that beacon will not even help that situation, because that was a turn off from Edgewood onto it.
That was one situation. There was multiple situations that happened with the crossing guard this last year, and the crossing guard before that left when we got Cindy. She had such a close call coming off of 164 that she actually hit a car with a stop sign. Nobody knows that, but she told me. Because we never got a complaint on it, the person kept going, never made a complaint. And she came right and said, I was able to hit the car, it was that close to me, I know I hit that car, but they never came to make a complaint. Because that's how crazy that intersection is. It's just getting busier up there. And the beacon, the beacon lights won't fix something that's happening on Edgewood going to 164, but it will give awareness for people that are on 164, which is just as much of a problem. And it's not one little thing that's gonna make solution. You combine things and make the solution. That's why we're talking already about doing Edgewood signs next year to help on that. They already put up the eight signs or 12 signs on the intersection. It's set to be painted by the end of, beginning of November. All the crosswalks, it's all a combination of it. And hopefully to find another good crossing guard and make the kids safe.
What signs did you put up?
We didn't put any up, the county or the state or county.
It's what goes through the state.
It goes through the state, but the county put all the pedestrian crossing, high visibility, yellow ones up on the poles on every corner of it. They were put up last year before the end of the year.
I know there was a comment made about moving that sign, that 35-mile-an-hour sign off of the pole, which was the stop and go light, and move it up further.
To the
There's
north,
something-
no, 35, I think, is just on a regular wooden post by
The one by
crossroads.
Crossroads.
I thought it was
Yeah, me and
just-
Eric had to talk about that. I don't think it'll make a difference.
Yeah, and we can't control it, that's done by the state, but they have various distances that you have to have for things, you know.
If they can't move it, maybe they can put a school zone, speed limit 25 sign underneath it, when children are present. It's just, I see how someone could maybe get confused. You driving north on 164, you see the school zone, and as soon as you get through the intersection, right in front of the school, it says speed limit 35.
So I deal with the guy that does all the signage, copy the chief on the stuff. I will give him a call tomorrow. One of the issues is, whether it's on Edgewood or Clark Street or 164, there's a lot of people speeding around here, a
Absolutely.
lot. I mean, I almost had an employee I did have an employee on last week Tuesday. The rake that we were using scratched the side of the guy's car. That's how close the guy was on Edgewood. I mean,
Do we have school zone on all four sides? Edgewood,
I'm not sure.
I don't believe there's anything
east and
posted on
west,
Edgewood.
and north and south on
And
164.
me and Eric already talked about for next year, doing some on Edgewood with signs possibly, we gotta look at it with the budgets and stuff.
I talked with Vernon a little bit today, and they have the signs, I believe, already. John Henneberry's gonna contact Eric about coordinating them, putting them up, whether they're gonna put them in Vernon's right away or ours.
Well, everything would be in our right of way. If we
If
own
you're
all the
coming
right.
west on Edgewood, that's Vernon's right away.
No, it's not.
Well, you're not gonna put it in a parking lot by Crossroads, you'd have to put it down.
We own that whole right of way.
Oh, do we?
Yes.
Okay.
Chief, how'd it go today for first day of school? Was there,
Yesterday was first day.
for Edgewood? Oh, yeah, for Edgewood. I'm sorry.
Big Bend.
Big Bend on Edgewood.
It was fine, it was busy, a lot of kids were crossed, I think we had, what did I say, 27 kids crossed at the intersection, which is huge for it. I think today was about maybe 20. No incidents, didn't do anything for the principal, still need to cross the yard. Got to do it at 8:15 in the morning.
I like the idea that you're doing. That's what I'd recommend is you
I'm not even
continue.
talk about the negotiation for the contract. I'll wait to table that today.
I think.
I was gonna ask, do you think having the police presence there made a night and day difference to, you know,
Well, I
the
think
first
the police,
couple days?
I had a discussion last night with somebody about this, and it's just a fact of life, that a police presence is better than a crossing guard presence, just like a police presence is better than a security guard's presence at an event. It
Right.
doesn't- And most of our people have some experience, so they know how to handle themselves, they know how to handle traffic a little better than a crossing guard. Cindy did a great job, the Gelby for her did a great job, but you just have a little bit more experience and
A whole lot more authority.
that makes it a better. I had one guy stop today, he rolled down his window, I was already on the sidewalk. Can I go even though the kids are gone now? He asked permission. Do you think he would ask permission for a crossing guard, or would he just want,
That's why I think you should continue to do it.
let's negotiate right now?
Actually,
Everybody in favor of negotiating this?
we can add it right into your contract.
All right, good deal. All right.
And
Thanks very much, Chief.
You're welcome.
Enjoy your birthday.
Thank you.
What's left of
Happy
it.
birthday, yeah.
This was confusing. I was looking at, there's no match up. Sorry, item 3D, President's report. No report tonight. Item 3E, Public Works Department monthly report.
Good evening.
Good evening, Eric.
On the front of your packet there, the girls in the office and the library were complaining about wasps. And, so we were spraying it. And we were spraying it. And Chuck decided to go underneath the ceiling and go up there, and he took this picture. And I said, Chuck, I'm not gonna fool with this because I'm allergic to bees. So we ended up actually calling a Safeway exterminating service from the city of Muskego in here. And when they got up in there, I met the guy here at 4:45 or 4:46 in the morning. When he got up in there, not only was there this one, there was another one that's up against the wall this way in the back up there. All those critters have now met Jesus. So we'll get the nests out later, but he saturated those and pretty much took care of everything. All right, now with my report, we had 2 burials, 2 monument stakings. I think our governor loves to see us those and lower and raise the flag. To me, that should be done for significant things like the 13 years we lost in Afghanistan. We opened up a ditch up in the Robert Way subdivision up there in Windwalker. We have an artesian well running in there. We're going to be putting some piping in there and trying to alleviate the problem that's there. We did a lot of stuff with the storms that came up. Police department and sheriff's department called us for barricades. And Edgewood was shut down for, I think, 5 days, Chief? 5 days. I know some people like Warren, we were out of power for 5 days. So, hats off to my 2 guys. I saw them run out of the building, and they were screaming. I thought somebody was drowning, to be honest with you. And there was a very large tree coming down with a significant amount of debris with it. And they were able to grab some stuff out of the shop and push the large tree away from the pier before it contacted it. With the size of that, it probably would have taken the whole pier out. So, those guys did a great job on that. We've been doing a lot of tree cutting and trimming and stuff like that. When I had Tyler here, he's now going back to college. We had another tree that went down up on Woodland, and the Sheriff's Department sat there for 5 hours. And they finally contacted us, and actually they contacted the town of Vernon. We went up there in the morning, still wasn't taken care of. The thing that I'm kind of disappointed about is We Energies never contacted anybody to say, hey, it's not our limb or our tree, or it's not on our power line, I should say. So it was on a communications cable, so we took that down. We had a significant amount of calls regarding when the power on Chateau Villa and Abbey was going to be back on, and unfortunately they don't like the answer, but we don't handle that. When we did the excavating over on Sherman and Robert, we had a significant amount of large riprap. If you've been down by the park, right across from the ball diamond, that's eroding huge, big erosion problem there. So we put all those rocks in there to stop that. We done work up at the cemetery. We replaced the charging coil on one of our large tractors, and I'm gonna tell you right now, we're not using any more DPW lawnmowers for dragging ball fields. I know it's a great thing to have these ball fields, but a significant amount of damage that was done from the dust that was ingested. So we're gonna have to find an alternative plan for that. We've been out trimming the hydrants for the fire department. We secured both permits for Clark Street and 164 for the beacon sign. We did the dumpster Saturday, repaired some stuff on the bike trail. I've been working with both engineers, Naomi and Will, on some other projects within the village. We attended the phase 2 pre-con meeting for the village on the test well. And you will see that I solicited for quotes on the genset and the labor, and I did contact two individual companies about the getting the work done up at Cage if it wasn't taken care of. So I will notify everybody, probably via email once a week, on how it's going up there. There was very explicit instructions on how it's got to get done. I hope it won't be an issue, but we've been down this road before. Any questions?
I've got a question for John or Jamie, whoever wants to answer. You know, I see those big hydrants in all this subdivision. Have they ever been used? But take my subdivision. You know what I mean by the hydrants, the pipes and stuff like that. Have those things ever been used in any of our new subdivisions where they're put in?
For a structure fire?
For anything other than
Nothing.
fires?
Test pump them?
We
go through them.
I know you
Usually
test
once-
pump them, you tested the line,
Yeah.
you emptied it out, and then you filled it with water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've heard that those things are like $50,000 or somewhere in that ballpark to put in on the developer's cost. Are they required? I mean, if we don't use them, if we go down to the hydrant at Muskego, we go to Mill Pond, or we go to Lake Park, why do we really even need them?
If there's a fire close there, we would definitely use them. We just been lucky enough that we haven't had anything in the area that we haven't had to use them.
Yeah, that's one of those things, I don't think you ever want to see it used.
Right.
But if you don't have it, I guarantee you your insurance rates will go up. Because I believe out here, we're rated on how close the nearest hydrant is.
Right, and how much water sources we
Yeah,
have.
because
That's part of our ISO
Is
rating.
that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, when we did let them know where all those tanks were throughout the village when they came in to question us about everything.
Okay, I mean, you understand my thought is, you know, I don't know how you put a cost on a fire or anything like that, but, you know, and I see with insurance, I guess it's probably beneficial to have it. So, okay, thanks.
Eric, one quick question on your wasp's nest.
Yes, sir.
When you guys clean that thing out, are you gonna somehow seal that up so it doesn't happen next spring again?
I would actually like to put some rough sawn plywood on there and stuff, and doctor that up, but yes, it's going to have a
Okay, thank you.
different issue on it. Yes, sir.
Just one other thing, Cherry Park, I know I contacted you in the past, but there's another tree that went down. It might be from what was the Ransom property. But there's also a branch that came down in that cottonwood tree, or I should say it's hanging way up there. You aware of that?
Yeah. Gonna
It
get,
fall to somebody or the bleachers?
yeah, we're gonna get, one of the neighboring, DPWs come on with a big bucket truck.
It's up there. Way.
Yeah, it's up there, so it's not, otherwise it's a widow maker right now, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Sheriff. 3F, report from professional services. John?
Everything's on the agenda.
Perfect. All right, we're going to jump ahead to item 7K. K, review, discussion, and possible approval of a conditional use grant to develop a 16-lot, single-family residential planned unit development, PUD, and including consideration / approval of the associated final plat, for example, Ripplebrook East. This request pertains to Village of Big Bend tax parcel number BBV 2112993003, containing approximately 35.5 acres of land, such parcel being located adjacent to and south of Henneberry Avenue, just east of and adjacent to the Ripplebrook West subdivision in the Village of Big Bend, Wisconsin. The property is zoned R2 residential district. The property owner / applicant is Stephen Stiser. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the plat to the village board. And I have a email with some comments from Mary Sensky, the planner, tonight, and she recommends, she has no objection to the village board approving the final plat tonight, subject to the following, and I feel the same way. Developer agreement, stormwater management agreements are being written. They must be reviewed and approved by the village attorney and the village board, and recorded or placed in permanent village file prior to the village signing and prior to anyone recording the final plat. So we can approve it conditionally, but until that developer's agreement. The conditional use grant document being drafted, reviewed, and approved by the village attorney and recorded concurrent with the recording of the final plat. Those are the only two conditions she places on, or would place on our approval.
And that's what the planning commission's recommending also?
Yes. There's a email in here from Naomi, or from Kapoor to building inspector and Mary and Eric and myself, and it's a recommended approval for the final plat as well, with similar conditions.
Warren, just for my clarification, this is the one we discussed back at the July Planning Commission?
Correct.
Okay. I was unable to proceed to the board in August.
There was a bunch of stuff that happened there.
Well, where are we at with getting these documents done?
Mr. Stiser submitted his developer's agreement to to Naomi on the 16th, I believe it was. The attorney got his copy today. They should be reviewed, and today or yesterday. Should be reviewed and done and ready for planning commission review at the next planning commission meeting. And I would assume the CUG will be done at the same time.
Yeah, the other item we need is the letter of credit, is one of the conditions of my approval.
Yeah, Mr. Stiza addressed that already. I think he said he was just gonna write a check.
So we're determining the amount.
Right.
Right.
And that'll be part of the developer's agreement that you'll see again.
The developers agreement also, as proposed, deviated from our standard format of doing a developers agreement, so there's some extra review and rechecking and cross-checking in that. I'm not sure why it was done that way, but it was.
I mean, I could answer that. I was trying to bring it up to today's state statutes, that's why.
That's the only difference. Okay. Format's exactly the same, right?
Well, other than some, words changed to bring it up to,
Same paragraph,
today's
same, okay.
It starts to cite the chapter.
I'll take a look at it. But I know Mike already has, but I
Okay.
will double check that.
Okay.
So this is gonna, I know we gotta go through all the proper things and stuff, but this is really gonna push it out to where the developer may not even be able to get started this year.
The developers agreement has to be approved before
Right.
anything can be final. I agree, but you got it, what, 16?
Yeah, Mary and I, we have a template that was then reviewed by the village attorney that we provide, and we alter it based on the specific developments to include, if it has stormwater, it has other utilities. So we provided that draft to Mr. Steiza, and then he had a while with it, and then he came back with a different version, didn't use our template. So now we have to re-review and make sure that we're hitting all the buttons that, making sure the important things for the village is still included in the developers agreement.
I believe even without the developers agreement, as long as he has an NOI filed with the DNR, he can grade and move dirt, right?
Well, I can do land disturbing activities, yes. But I'll need the erosion control permit from the owner.
And we want a letter of credit.
Right.
I mean, I'm more than happy to write.
Yeah, we had that talk.
Check for $350, you guys, I'm more than happy to.
So I guess I'm a little confused, and maybe you guys can collectively guide me through this a little bit. So we're looking for motion and approval of a CUG tonight without having basically.
No, we're just looking to approve the final plat.
It's a conditional approval. Typically, every plat is conditioned upon approvals, because you can't get all the moving parts together.
Right, but what we're looking at right now, it's telling me that we're looking for a possible approval of a conditional use grant.
Correct. And
Not just the plat.
And the plat.
I don't even see the plat on
Well,
here.
it says, and including consideration or approval of the associated final
Oh,
plat.
yeah, okay, I see
So I
that.
guess you could do one, not the other.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things hanging out there to try to get a CUG through tonight.
We don't even have it, right?
We don't even have
No,
it.
I understood it was just gonna be plat.
This is just supposed to be for the plat.
Okay,
That's Mary's recommendation from what
all right, so, okay, the way that's, okay, I get it now.
We approve whatever your motion is.
So
Or
are you
not.
making a motion?
Oh, not yet. I was just trying to figure out what was going on here. So we're just looking for the final plat approval. And then it would have to go back to the planning once everything that we just stated is.
Developers agreement, conditional use, stormwater management agreement.
So then we'll go to planning later this month and then to the October board meeting.
I, Mary's recommendation could be the motion if somebody would claim to.
Right. That's what I was hoping for.
To pre-approve it?
No,
Do you want me to make the motion? So I can
well,
read it?
the planner shortly.
Well, you can make a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah,
you can make a motion if you want.
I think,
Read the
yeah,
motion.
this will be what the planner has recommended.
Well, I read this out loud before, but I'll
Say it
say
again.
I will.
For me.
I will move that we approve the final plat for Mr. Stiles' development, subject to the developer agreement and stormwater management agreements being written, reviewed, and approved by the village attorney and the village board, and recorded or placed in the permanent village file prior to the village signing and prior to anyone recording the final plat. 2, conditional grant use document being drafted, reviewed, and approved by the village attorney and recorded concurrent with the recording of the final plat.
Second.
Any further discussion?
So that means that it was
Something
then,
about a letter of credit would be required.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to specify a letter of credit separately, it's generally considered as part of the developer's agreement.
It is, yeah. It's, right.
Okay, it's,
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
so this means that it would then not go back through planning for a review of any of the documents that still yet to be submitted?
Yeah, the developer's agreement and all of that goes through planning too.
Okay, so we're going to have board approval for it with no planning approval.
No, we're only
We're just
approving the
approving the
final
final plat,
plat.
which has already come through planning.
Okay.
Planning recommended approval on that.
Yeah, nothing else is being approved, just the final plat.
Threw these on there so that we can keep the ball moving forward.
How long have we been working on this?
Steve?
'too long.
That's what I'm wondering, because we have some detail, and I know we gotta get them done before we move forward. But what I don't want is for Big Ben to get hard to work with if things are getting tied up in a backlog of whatever. You know, I want these to be smooth.
But I also want it to be thoroughly vetted, because we've had so much trouble
We need
with
to
developing
protect
these
ourselves.
things in the past.
I agree with,
If we don't have everything done, I have a very tough time trying to say, let's go forward with it, everything else will fall into place, because traditionally, I can probably say 4 of the last 5 developments, things have not fallen into place, and 10 years later, we're scrambling to try to figure out what happened and how we can correct it.
I totally agree with you, I understand that.
Right, Mike?
We,
Sometimes.
we have the
sometimes
potential to do a
it's
mid-month
engineering fault
meeting
too.
if we have to, or if we can, if everything's reviewed and ready to go. We're already meeting for finance and personnel on the 14th. We could do a planning and board meeting that same night if we had to.
Do what you gotta do.
Right,
I'm
I'm
in that whole week, so.
Tony, I totally
We're
agree
in
with you,
town or out of
it
town?
has to be done, it has to be done right. But I don't wanna take forever to get all this stuff done.
I agree. We owe the developer a solid, thorough, and fast track and pathway of being able to get to where he needs to go.
We still need to do our review.
I'm looking at, what, 4 or 5 different documents that haven't been reviewed or even created or things at this point?
It's really the developer's agreement would be the toughest, the stormwater management,
That's done.
that's basically done, I think,
It is
right?
done, yeah.
And what, is it, were any of the other agreements pretty much done? Other than we agreeing on a dollar amount for the,
That's correct. Dollar amount and then the developer's agreement.
right,
Yeah,
it's really,
well,
and we're
developer's
pretty
agreement
close on the
and CUG are
dollar.
the two things that were,
Right.
Right, and I would say
the CUG's gotta be close, right?
oh, that's not mine, sorry. I don't do that. But I would say, you know, as far as timing, I would say we started to receive, final plat submittals in maybe June.
And you know, I'm not just talking about this development, we've got a whole bunch of developments that are very possible, you know, when we look up towards the intersection. So we need to get a smooth path to get this moving forward.
Yeah, and so when we get a submittal in June, and it's September 1st, and I don't think that's, you know, when boards meet once a month. I don't think that's an unreasonable time, in my opinion. I mean, it's in the communities that I work in, but that's my 2 cents.
Tony, to clarify, Mary just texted me, the planning commission did approve the CUG and the final plat at the August meeting and recommended board approval of both, so the CUG is tied in with that.
But I believe that, didn't we do it on the condition that these other,
Same conditions that we have now, right? The developer's agreement, the bond,
Stormwater
the
management,
stormwater
dollar
management.
amount.
but it was supposed to have been done by this meeting so that the board would have had a chance to know that these things have been vetted, approved, and by the different entities, I believe. Correct me if I don't remember that right, but I believe that was the case.
In a perfect world that happens, but it rarely ever happens because every community I work in, they approve the plat and the other items are always conditionally approved. I've never had it where everything's done. Because everybody keeps moving forward, carrying the ball, you know.
I don't have it with me. We can get it, we got it.
I didn't approve, my second was to approve the plat.
Mary says that the CUG will contain nothing but a copy of the approved plat, the approved development agreement, and the approved stormwater management agreement, nothing else.
So where are all the
So-
agreements?
Yeah,
They're in for review right now.
Yeah, we don't have an approved development agreement, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right, so we.
Well, that's because
approved the plat.
we didn't go with our standard and we wrote it.
I know, I get that.
And
But
that's-
whenever that was announced at planning, I think that it was supposed to have been reviewed, it was in the final stages of being reviewed and was going to be reviewed prior to this meeting, I believe, if I remember
Like a week
correctly.
ago?
Yeah. No?
I don't know that I mean, I might have got it like the day before that. Or, let's see if I got it tomorrow.
I'm not trying to throw a wrench in this whole thing.
No, I
I'm
understand.
not, it's just, there's been so many identified after the fact, 10 years down the road issues.
So you're talking about past issues, not this issue.
Well,
Track records are track records.
I can assure you, our family's been in business for 50 years. We have never, ever defaulted on a project.
I mostly.
And I think Mr. Schover would even agree with that.
I thought it was more than 50.
It is more, it is 60.
Yeah, I was gonna say it.
You're right.
I'll point out one thing, I appreciate that, and I really do, working for companies with good track records, but it was, on your last project here with Ripplebrook West, we had an issue with the light. And it was something that there was, you know, you know it, we know it, I'm just saying that that's an issue that happened with the prior development. I'm not holding that against
Okay.
you,
But
but
do you
there's
know
been
what-
small
oh,
little issues
sure.
with that and some a lot larger than that with the different
But
developments.
you're actually, your ordinance reads that you'll pay for it and install it, and then you give me the bill and I pay for it. That's how your ordinance reads.
Well, I'm not trying to get into a battle with that, I'm just simply pointing out that it's a sticking point that we've had to work ourselves through here in the past on a development from the past. It just happens to be with yours. There's other ones here that's been a lot bigger issue and a lot more dollars on the table than a simple light. I'm wanting to make sure that we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed prior to pre-approval for something that we haven't got all the plans thoroughly vetted.
Well, the plans have been vetted.
No, they have not. The developer's
Development agreement.
agreement has not, which is part of the CUG.
It's not a plan, it's a.
Okay, technically you are correct, but it's a piece of the puzzle. I want to make sure that everybody agrees that we know what has to happen and that we're going to make sure that everything is followed correctly if we do approve this tonight. That your vote has to count on.
Well, who's gonna follow up with it to make sure it gets done?
It's gotta, the developer's agreement has to go through the board.
And planning commission.
That can't, you can't start without a developer's agreement.
So then why are we approving the CUG tonight if we can't start before the other ones are approved and add it back into the CUG anyway? It's gotta go to the planning board, right?
Because it's a good faith gesture that we're all moving forward together.
Didn't we just approve just the
We haven't
plat?
called, I haven't called for the vote yet on the plat.
Just
We
The
have a
motion
motion
is for
and
the
a
plat,
second.
right?
Yes.
Right,
Not CUG, the motion is just for the plat.
that's what I said.
I'm just making sure that I seconded the right motion I wanted.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thanks, Steve. I'm gonna go to L and M right away as long as we're here and Steve's here. L, review discussion, possible approval for road specs in the Ripple Brook East subdivision. We had public works meeting on Monday and we discussed some things there and it was decided, our ordinance reads 1.5 inches and 3/4 inch crushed concrete or TB. And the engineers that were all there, the road guys all said that he could use 1.25 inches on both lifts, as long as he doesn't have, 2 lifts. I don't know that we need to approve that as a board, do we?
Well, if we're approving maybe a deviation, I suppose you could put that.
It's following part of our ordinance already though. Like, well, the 1 inch and 1/4 is what they make, not 1.5 inches.
Yeah, I know our ordinance is outdated and
Right.
we're rewriting it, but it doesn't follow what's written there, we're giving them.
And it's not following what the state DOT does or Waukesha County does, or half the communities are building it to that standard.
So is there a document this is written in?
There's nothing written.
So this is just a verbal motion?
This is what we're.
I think we're just doing it to read it into the record.
I would agree. I think it should be memorialized that our code might not be up to date, so to speak, and that we're reflecting that we acknowledge that this is satisfactory and in effect.
And this could be something we include in the development agreement.
Yeah.
Then it's-
I make a motion for all of that.
All of that.
Included in the developer's agreement, the road specifications
Two
and the
lifts
2
of-
lifts and what he said.
The 1.25, yeah.
2 lifts of 1
Yeah, and that we're not up to
1.25
date.
inch
Yes.
dance fine.
All of that you got on that recording, Elena, that's my motion.
I'll second
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And item 7M, review discussion and possible approval of an early start date for Ripple Brook East subdivision. I don't know that we can allow an early start without a developer's agreement signed and in place and Mr. Stiles' check in the bank. But if we can get everything run through and approved, I will try and call a mid-month meeting for planning and board, just for that one line item. Yes, sir?
I also would like to ask, because I already have the NOI permit from the DNR, which means that I can do land disturbing activities. And I'm asking if I could get in there and cut the buckthorn out, where the ponds are gonna be built. And get up the silt fence, and I would need a permit from Naomi for the silt fence. Cause that would help shave,
Right.
a week off or whatever, so that's all.
Naomi?
I don't have any concerns with that.
Pardon?
I don't have any concerns
Okay,
about
thank
that.
you.
If
Eric?
we can do it per ordinance.
He,
I
with
don't-
his NOI, he can do that anyway.
Mhm.
He just wants everybody's blessing to do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I know where he's talking about stuff, and if we can get him going on part of this, he knows there's other stuff he's gotta follow.
Right.
I mean, it takes a week to get them in there, and it takes a week for them to do it, and then hopefully then in 2 weeks, then you guys will, will be done, with all the paperwork, and then I can get the iron rolling.
I'll make a motion to allow you to use your NOI
And issue
and
a
issue a
erosion control
thing for
permit.
silk fence.
Yeah, so you'll apply for erosion control and just say what you're doing, and then we can.
Here at the village, right? Okay.
And does that involve bonding or the,
No, not for
Security.
tree cutting.
not for that?
I think that has to come through the building department, but I'll coordinate with them, let them know that what's approved, what we've discussed. And what's
Okay.
approved.
Yeah, I think I could give them a mini copy or something too, of the plat.
We still have to do a pre-con with Mr. Stiles before anything goes forward anyway. And that's with village staff. That isn't set up yet.
Well, we don't necessarily need one for this, do we?
No,
Tree
but we
clearing.
will.
Yeah, we do, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, let's get back to the regular business. Item 4, consideration and approval of minutes.
Motion to dispense with reading the minutes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So we agree with now having to certify, so if something happens to him, so we got this. We have no rule. Two batteries with each of them. $46. What is it called? The radius, just
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I abstain. I was not present.
Nice job. Item 5, approval of bills, discussion, consideration, and approval of bills in the amount of $76,793.75.
Warren, I apologize. Can you say that one more time?
$76,793.75.
I make a motion to pay the bills in that amount.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6A, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the emergency management plan for the Village of Big Bend. Update, Tony.
I really have no update. I'm taking it back on next week with emergency management. They've had change in personnel, so I'm gonna follow up with them and see where it's at.
Got lots to come.
Yeah. The director, she retired rather quickly.
Okay, thank you. Item 6C, discussion, consideration, and possible action referencing the Douglas Court development update. Naomi.
Okay, sorry I missed the last board meeting, but they've made some significant progress. If you remember, there was a deadline of September 1st to get the site completed according to this approved site plan. The pond is dug. It's mostly, well, there's erosion control blanket, there's mulch and seed. We're waiting for vegetation. The outlet structure is installed. The riprap and erosion control, permanent erosion control is installed. The drainage swale going to the pond has been graded, and seeded with mulch. I was just out there today, just checking in on the stabilization. You know, it hasn't been long since that's been done, so we're, you know, letting it sit and have some time. We did a erosion control inspection after the rainfalls about, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when it rained, and it held up really nice. There was no evidence of any sediment leaving the site. There were some areas of erosion that were taken care of real promptly by the developer. So kudos for that. And there was there's some silt logs out there that he included according to our recommendation, and so he's doing everything possible to get that stabilized. There are some bare areas that I noticed today. We'll have to see if those need to be maybe reseeded and topsoil. You know, sometimes you don't know what it's going to take. So since we have 6 weeks of growing season yet, I included in your packet, Mike Timmons is our construction manager. He's been doing most of the site visits out there and coordinating with Mr. Khan on any items that he feels need to be addressed. The memo or email, I think, is also included. Did you get an email with the pictures?
I put the pictures in.
Oh, no email? Okay. So there was a list and email correspondence of just some items, kind of some punch list items. We're still looking at the roadway. The shouldering was done on the side where the grading of the swale along Douglas Court. There's some areas there concern me with the pitch of the shoulder, and then some areas we think the shoulder should be touched up over on the other side of Douglas Court. I haven't had a chance to talk to the developer yet, but Mike Timmers was out there looking at that more recently. And the pictures actually are a little outdated, so there's...
It's about 3 weeks old.
Yep.
This area here has been filled in and seeded.
It has, yep, that's right. And there is the construction entrance further away from John Drive, off of John Drive, further away from Douglas Court rather. That has been all vegetated now. And there's just one little area of staging area that has some debris to be cleaned up. So I would say overall the site is compliant. This is really good news. We're still working with Public Works and Mike Timmers to look at what needs to be done to accept the roadway. So my thought is that there's been a lot of work out there. We're just waiting for stabilization. We can't really close out a permit or NOI necessarily until that happens. And then we do have as-bills have been requested. So that means that now the surveyors can go out and get the as-built information, and then you should submit that for approval. So then we see that the pond volumes are adequate.
The spillway through that, and the ditches and stuff have really come across strong with grass. I mean, it's really taken hold, and it looks good, it is good. So I don't think there's any issues there. I was maybe hoping that developer could go up the National Avenue and go west. And there's a landfill area up there, maybe give them some insight on how to grow grass, but no, it's looking really good. Like you said, there's some issues with some shouldering and some stuff in the road. I don't handle that. They handle that, so. But
prior to acceptance.
What's all involved in accepting the road now? Do you know, or can you fill us in?
I can. We just got information. There was some question as to how the road was constructed because there was no village representative out there. So if you recall, the paving was planned for a Monday, happened on Friday. So there was no representative from Kupur or Public Works on site. We weren't provided with any details about what was put in, no tickets, asphalt tickets, no information. I did reach out to Madeline at Payne and Dolan who did the paving. She just got back to me today with an email, and Mr. Khan's copied on it. I had asked what asphalt mix was used. She gave me the tickets. The asphalt mix was appropriate. One of the things that we want to follow up on is, I asked for what depth was laid for binder, what depth was laid for surface course. So it's, Madeline has said 2 inches of binder was laid, 1.5 inches surface course, so that's 3.5 inches, and our quote is 4. The plans have a stuck on a detail that shows 4 inches of asphalt. So I'm gonna have Mike Timmers, look at the tickets, we can recalculate that based on the tonnage of asphalt. If it still appears that maybe there's not as much asphalt on there as we would like, then we have to make some decisions. One of our options could be boring, cores to verify throughout. But, that's something I guess we'll have to.
I went to Panadolin today and they're gonna pull up the information on the road. And this Madeline stated that somebody was from Kapoor was there when they did the second lift. That's what Madeline at Panadolin told me at the office today. And they're gonna get some tickets and information for the asphalt sent to whoever. And I talked to Cardinal Engineering and they were gonna get a hold of proper people on the base, what was put in there. Their engineering and the elevation and whatever, so I contacted both those individuals and they should be having that information this week or beginning of next week.
Right. So we're starting to piece it together and get the information needed to make that decision, yep.
Anybody else have questions?
No, actually,
Doesn't sound like it, right?
no, I think that we're in good shape.
Very good. Thank you. Item 6D, discussion, consideration, possible action for the police chief working agreement.
Motion to table, leave closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6E, discussion, consideration, possible action for the fire chief working agreement.
Same motion to table, leave closed session.
And second that one also.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6F, discussion, consideration, and possible action for village health insurance. We had Carmen in here from R&R, and she presented us with 4 different options for health insurance for full-time employees in the village. The options were basic and not very tailored to what we wanted. They were just something she thought we might like, and we're gonna give her some more feedback after talking to department heads and some staff and figuring out exactly what everybody thinks they want. I mean, everybody wants everything for free, but that's just not affordable for anybody. So we gotta figure out what's gonna be a good split, what's a good deductible, what's good coverage. Do you need to be able to go to every hospital in southern Wisconsin or the United States, or can you live with, Aurora and Pro Health? There's a lot of options, so we got some more discussion and work to do on it. So I guess I would motion to table this until we get the rest of our homework done.
The second motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion's tabled. Item 6G, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding backup generator for Village Hall. Eric?
So everybody should have the 2 bids I got on the generator. And there's 2 letters, or 2 bids on the electrical work that needs to be done. The one thing that's not in there is the plumbing to hook up the natural gas to the generator. We're trying to make this so we can run everything in the village, everything in the fire department and in the village hall.
Do we need to get another bid yet for the plumbing?
I've called 2 guys, everybody's really busy right now.
And we conditionally approved this last board meeting already.
Right.
Based on Eric getting more detailed quotes and coming back to us with a recommendation for which brand. With all the quotes being very similar in price anyway.
So one of the differences on there's one of the engines on there's a 4-cylinder, one's a 6-cylinder. Both run on natural gas. So it's kind of up to you guys where you want to go with that.
Is there anything we're missing on one quote versus the next that you know of?
I'm sorry, what?
Are we missing anything on one quote versus the next?
Well, I was gonna sit down with the electrician in town here and go through everything step by step. Have done that over the phone, but to make sure all the bases are covered. So they've dealt with both companies. But fire department's got 3-phase air compressor, their cascade machine, and they have a dryer, correct? That's 3-phase,
Yes,
and that's it, right?
yeah, the washer's not too.
No, the washer's 120.
So will that, that'll run both up here and down below?
No,
No, just Village Hall.
it'll power everything up here with a little bit of room to spare. So as the building is right now, it'll run all that.
So it's the quote, like the $28,000 plus the $14,000
Yes.
plus the natural gas cost,
Yes,
right?
it's just trying to get somebody here.
I
It's
mean,
not, they gotta go 10 feet, you know? So it's just hard to get somebody, it's a very small job, but it's just hard to get somebody to come out and give you a
Right,
quote on right away.
but that's what we're looking at, those $3 amounts.
Correct.
So we just table it until we get all that information.
And can we just
I-
decide on one and
I was
move
gonna say,
forward?
we already approved it conditionally. Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
So the difference between the two is 1330. With one of the contractors totally done, it's 41,375. I don't have again, I don't have the plumbers, and I can't imagine the plumbing for that would be anything over $500.
Depends if you want it done on a Sunday or not. There was another quote here from NSI that was on the table when we walked in, and it's a little less, but it's a very weak quote in my opinion. It's not detailed, it doesn't specify a whole lot of, the other two companies gave us, you know,
What do you mean it's
Except-
less? It's more.
More.
It's hugely
It's
more.
21,500 versus 14,000.
Yeah,
oh, this is just for connecting?
yeah,
Yes,
Oh, sorry,
that's just, yeah,
I thought this was including a generator.
no,
that's just tying wires in.
And there's a lot of stuff back there to be cleaned up and be put in a brand new 400 amp service. Again, trying to,
What are we at right now, Eric?
sorry, but
What are we at right now? What kind of amp service?
we have 200 amp in there right now.
Okay.
But the 200 amp box is completely full. And this has been like an add-on, and it comes with the building in its age.
Sure.
So what we're trying to do is clean it up and put one big breaker unit in there. And this would, again, run on natural gas so that nobody has to fuel it.
Does everything that Miller is proposing on this NSI, it's the same thing, apple to apple?
NSI's got a bid in there for a crane service. This unit's about 2,800 pounds. We have the equipment right on site that we can, lift this unit with. And nobody would be doing the concrete work except us, unless we wanna have a concrete guy come in and do it. You gotta make a pad for this thing.
Yeah, Miller's local, are familiar with our building already. I mean, that would be my recommendation, is to stick with them. Do you have a preference as to Generac or Cummins?
We're just,
Looking at Cummins looks a little less expensive, and that's a 6-cylinder, right?
right.
Otherwise, they're pretty much apples to apples. $100 less, we get 2 more cylinders. Do you know anything about, service from whoever we buy it from?
This is Cummins. Cummins is a big name in the power end of everything. So it's not like so, huh?
So is Pontiac.
Well, they've been around.
Just goofing with you.
So they've been around for quite a long
It's not
time.
Cummins that I'm worried about, it's the local dealer that we're gonna buy from. You know, are they reputable, or, you know, are you comfortable with them?
Yeah, there's, once these things, there's a lot of generators that I've seen out there that you can buy on eBay or other various markets that are a lot cheaper. But what I found out, they're used, of course, takeouts, is that it's the electronics on those units. And once the electronics gets old, you can't buy the stuff. So if you want to use it on a farm or something, and you want to have your electrician hook it up so that's one way to do it, but we can't do that here.
Was there a lead time on either of these? I didn't see one on the quotes.
6 to 8
Months?
weeks. Depends where they can
Run
source
these
it from.
every so often, just to keep them going and stuff like
They
that.
automatically fire off every
Yep.
day, week, whatever their recommended interval is. They
Okay.
fire up for 10 minutes, and they usually have a quiet run when they're just test firing.
Yeah, these things, they set them up, usually run once a month, and then when we hook to my phone, so that anytime it goes off, I'm notified. It also gives you an advance notice of when it's gonna fire.
And that'll be no disruption at all when that happens?
When it starts up,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it just runs itself, runs through a programming time thing, and then it shuts off. Now, when it kicks in here, if the power goes out, yeah, it takes, 30 seconds or so for everything to happen. Sometimes quicker.
What is
What?
the ATS thing on the Generac thing? That's the extra $5,000.
Automatic transfer switch.
That's on the
That's on the
other,
other one too?
yeah, it's on line item 4 on there. They're both 400 amp switches.
They warranty them for how long?
The switches,
No, the whole thing?
some of them have a year warranty, some have a 3-year warranty.
Genset warranty, 2 years base. That's on the Cummins. Same warranty on the Generac, 2 years.
Other villages or cities or whatever, what are they going with, or are they happy?
There's one right now in northern Wisconsin that's a 2019 model on the auction site and on the surplus site. I did give those guys a call to see what it was like and why they're not using it anymore. I just didn't get a call back.
For which model?
One of the same ones we're looking at,
Which one?
The Generac or Cummins?
the Generac. It's just, if you're gonna do something, you wanna start planning it now. Obviously, you wanna do something like this in the middle of December or January.
No,
Not the best weather to work.
How much money do we have to spend?
our first go-around check, I believe, was 76,000. And mind you, we've got some commitments to the well testing out of that, and something else coming up on the agenda. I don't know that we'll use it all up yet, but we've got a good dent in it.
You want a motion to go forward with the Miller Electrical and the Cummins model, and you can spend up to X amount of dollars on the plumbing for the gas. What is a reasonable $1,000, I don't know.
$1,500.
$1,500, that's my motion. I'm sticking to it.
I'll second that.
So,
So we got a motion and a second for install Cummins generator and the gas plumbing. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the work on that, Eric, and public safety. Item 7A, consideration and approval of the following operator's license, Taylor Peterson. Chief?
No concerns, recommend approval.
Motion to approve that operator license for Taylor Patterson.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B, discussion, consideration, and possible action on Resolution 2021-01. Resolution 2021-01, declaring intent to exceed minimum requirements to be considered exempt from the Waukesha County Library levy. Anything to comment on this, Carla?
The levy amount went up 3% this year because the equalized tax value of the village went up, which is nice for us. It's $50,180. If you vote to exceed this, you are promising the library that you will be giving us that levy amount and that it would not come out of fines, fees, or other revenues. I do know my budget's proposal's done for next year, and with this levy amount and the money that I'm getting from Waukesha County in 2 grants, I will not be asking the village for any more funds at all to operate. So I'm asking you to approve this resolution.
Very good recommendation from the library board.
Yeah, I recommend that we, or make a motion that we take and pass this resolution 2021-01.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks, Carl. Need a sign. All right.
Should we talk about it, the first one?
I was gonna say, it's on here twice, okay. Item 7C is a repeat of that one. Item 7D, discussion, consideration, and possible approval for the Waukesha County tax billing contract. Where's the bottom line? $1.72 per parcel in 2022, $1.77 per parcel in 2023.
What is it currently?
I have no idea.
I would hazard it's probably $1.67.
Plus or minus a couple cents.
Right. If I recall, last year it went up 5 cents as well.
I make a motion that we approve the Waukesha County tax billing contract for 2022 and 2023.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7E, discussion, consideration, and possible action for assessment and reevaluation contracts interim market adjustment. We approved the assessment last board meeting, but we didn't have all of the information on the interim market adjustment, which is included in your packet here now. Interim market adjustment, they just do anywhere from 2 to 5 years gap. They're recommending doing it in 2025. It's an $8,000 charge, which we can amortize out over the 3 years of our normal assessment contract with them, making it roughly $11,000 a year payment. If we go with the full value maintenance, which they'll do it every year, that's $15,000 per year. But it will keep us much closer to the current values. We're falling below that 0.9 number that DOR wants us at. Not to go below.
This went through finance and we recommended to the board that it be approved. So I'll make the motion to approve this action here.
That's seconded.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7F, review, discussion, and possible approval of the business site and operating plans for Gary Polhammer doing business as Diversified Truck Services to occupy the buildings and sites located at West 224 South 8505 and West 224 South 8495 Industrial Avenue. For example, Big Bend tax parcel numbers 206-8052, 206-8053 respectively, with his auto body, vehicle painting, and related storage uses. These parcels contain 1.06 and 1.07 acres of land respectively. Both are zoned I-1 Industrial Park District. The current owner of these properties is Minor Investments, LLC. The staff report from the planner in your packet. She recommends approval, no particular objections to the request. She encouraged the applicant to combine lots 1 and 2, but we cannot require it. You can read through the rest of them here. Requiring existing overhead pedestrian doors be painted. Planting a couple more trees. He's essentially just moving across the street.
Expanding this business, from what I understand. I'll make a motion to approve this move into those 2 addresses.
Here, is this, seeing those cul-de-sacs there, does that have any part of this where, I know we had that business had overflow into the cul-de-sacs?
Drainage issues there.
On the other end? Okay. I'll second it then.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion, consideration, and possible action, item 7G, discussion, consideration, and possible action on letter of credit reduction by $155,677.20 per Kapoor's recommendation of completed construction at Lake Park Storage Condos. In your packet, you have the letter from Naomi, along with on the backside the spreadsheet showing as such. Naomi?
Yep, so they've been moving forward. This letter of credit is just for phase 1. So it's the 3 units that they're working on the
West side.
West side. And the stormwater management facilities. So the stormwater basin has been put in, and the storm sewer for phase 1 has been put in. They're working on constructing of the owner's lounge right now, and they've done some grading of the private road and placement of some base materials. We are recommending the letter of credit based on the work completed. Really the important line is the amount of letter of credit retained. So we're still retaining all of landscaping. We're retaining most of the private street and emergency access way, with the exception of the excavated materials and the common excavation for both areas. That's essentially completed. The detention pond, we're retaining about 25% of the pond excavation that is, it's probably excavated completely. However, with the ongoing construction, there could be sediment, into the pond, and we may need, based on as-built, to re-excavate it, so we retain a little bit of, for that item. And then, stabilization around the pond, because we don't have final stabilization, although they have done a really good job of, final grading and seeding. And then we're retaining, the erosion control, and then of course the paving, because it hasn't been done yet.
Thank you.
Now, we questioned about the stormwater pond, the detention pond. Did you, for some reason, I remember at planning, you said that the pond, you haven't seen it fill up with water yet.
Right, so we would, that's also why we're holding some, money, is that we were out inspecting the clay liner. We did check-ins, so we weren't out there continuously, but we did inspect the clay liner. Their as-built should show the 2-foot clay liner, it should show the base elevation and the top elevation of the clay liner. If for some reason, after all the impervious is put in and we get a rainfall, it's not holding water, then that's something to be looked at and considered, because that pond is to have no interaction with groundwater.
Do you feel that the 25% that you're withholding is enough?
Yeah.
If you have to do that?
Yeah.
And not just for sedimentation?
Yeah, I think that's enough.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the reduction of $155,677.20.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7H is done already. At item 7I, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the tornado siren control box. Jamie.
As I had mentioned to finance, in regards to it, is anyone here born before 1951? You'll be older than that siren box. I only have one other before. One other copy. We've been having problems in regards to the siren going off and the activation. The system still works on a crystal type system. It's still receiving, but it's not getting it. It's going. So what we ended up doing is contacting Federal Signal, who is the maker of that siren. They gave us a quote in regards to replacing the control box for the unit. The unit itself, like I said, is the original control box. We haven't replaced that. So we've been having problems with the siren getting activated during when we do our weekly tests, which is on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. The last storm where the siren did go off twice, as prescribed by WCC. The proposal you have before you is for installation and also for a new control box. So we're looking to replace that control box, get a new control box in to replace what we currently have there.
State-of-the-art equipment.
Yes.
That will be outfitted.
Yes, and they'll work with Waukesha County Communications to make sure that everything tests properly in the siren and it does set off as prescribed.
Who makes the determination of where to put sirens?
Who makes the determination? The municipality does.
Okay. So a municipality, the village here just has the one siren.
We originally, this siren that's here, originally was actually on the corner of Milwaukee and Putnam. Was at a business there. It was the old fire department siren and severe weather siren, because that's what they used years ago. We used to have two of them, one there and then another one up by Fickhouse, up by behind Fickhouse in that location there, a smaller one. That one, when one of the properties were sold, and they took the siren down, they kind of just cut it down and it fell, and it's actually sitting in the museum storeroom area right now. We had to move the current siren from its location there, and it got moved, basically ended up getting moved down here years ago. So the siren in itself, at that time when it was moved, was refurbished, gone through and everything else, set where it is right now. So,
Is there, whenever you do the tests, and I'm unfamiliar with this, does the fire department or public works or the county or does anybody check for like dead zones where people can't hear the sirens? And the reason I ask that is Lake Park, for instance, depending upon which way the wind is blowing, we can hear the sirens sometimes and sometimes we cannot.
right, you're gonna pick up probably the overlay from the one in Muskego over by
Very
Muskego
faintly.
County.
Everything's
Muskego County Park.
very faintly. We've had, I've had, and I'm just using Lake Park as an example. For that, I've had people mention that they've heard it sometimes and not heard it sometimes. I just didn't know if there was any discussion as population expands and.
There has been discussion in the past about, purchasing, some more sirens for the community. It would be something for us to look into because of the expansion and growth of the population in the area, especially up towards the north part of the village. But we haven't purchased anything new since we moved that siren at that time. So, I mean,
And the reason I ask that is if we're going to sink money into rehabbing this one, I didn't know if it would be worth discussion to see if we need to expand that conversation outward to see if we need to get, instead of one centralized siren, maybe 2 sirens to try to cover the district. I know that surrounding sirens also help as well, but I would imagine that there's probably other dead spots besides just Lake Park.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
The safety committee in the past looked at that in depth and they voted it down not to add additional sirens because of the costs.
Yeah, I think the
You could
last
put a
time-
fire radio in everybody's home for a lot cheaper than you could put one siren up.
And I guess that cost would come back to the village.
Yes.
Everyone's got cell phones.
Yeah.
We can't hear the sirens
They
with
don't
fast, but
always work in severe weather.
Yeah, because I think the last time that was brought up was probably 2011 or 2012. It was right after the fire department started that. We had got those bids on everything.
And it was right around 40,000, I think.
It was quite costly and everybody decided at that time not to do it.
I also have a weather radar that goes off with every single marine morning.
There's some days you can hear the train
Because I
on the
live by
line,
the
and
lake,
other
right?
days you can't hear it.
You're absolutely right, Mike. Absolutely right.
Because I live in Mosquito and I can't hear their siren. And it's,
And I guess the reason, I asked that too is I'm unfamiliar with any regulatory requirements, if there is any, for households to be able to hear the siren.
I believe there is none
There's
for
none.
households, those are for people that are stuck out.
Outside.
Outside.
Yeah, and it was generally, part of the reason it was moved down to this location here was because of the park and people down there, or people on the river or something in that nature, and that to kind of make sure that we're covering down in that area there. So,
Right. Hence the reason they have one in Muskego at Muskego
County
Park,
Park.
like right there at the entranceway. That would make perfect sense.
So we are looking, like I said, we are looking to replace the control module. I talked to Eric last month about that, well, telling him I'd get the quote in regards to that, so that's why I'm here tonight in regards to that.
As the resident weather nerd, tornado sirens are for the purpose of people outdoors. They are not for the purpose of indoors whatsoever, although people use them for that. And thankfully, in Waukesha County, they don't blow them off for severe wind warnings like they do in Walworth County and create unnecessary panic. So we're lucky that way.
I think we had done at the time, several years ago too, we had looked at, it probably would have been cheaper for us to buy our own in the village of weather radio than to get another couple sirens in the community.
Personally, I think they are useful. Just because when something does happen, those are more likely to go off than your cell phone if cell tower goes down or anything like that.
You can get good deals at Menards the day after Thanksgiving.
I agree, those are great too.
There's my plug.
Okay, well,
Motion
with all that
to,
being said, Finance and Personnel recommended approval of this by the village board.
motion to approve.
I'll second
Come on,
Okay,
move.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Very good, then I will,
Something that we should consider is that where are you guys gonna plan to put that box?
probably using the same box,
Inside.
Weather controlled.
weather controlled, they recommend it to be weather controlled.
No, I'm just saying, because I wanna get that, Miller's gonna come in and that, everything over.
Okay,
So it'd be nice to clean up the garage a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, you wanna work, why don't you and I work together
Yeah,
on
let's make
this?
it happen.
Okay, yeah, we'll make it happen.
Thank you. Item 7J, discussion, consideration, possible action on the Motorola Radios Exchange Program.
I am currently gonna get further information from the finance committee in regards to that. Would recommend at this time the board table.
Motion table.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion tabled, item tabled. And we skip all the way down to item 8. Closed session. We have 2 of them here. Can I do them simultaneously?
If you can, and, yeah, we can do something.
Okay. Item 8A, go into closed session as per Wisconsin statute 19.85, sub 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss combined shared services. And B, go into closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, sub 1BE, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility in negotiating for the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically village life insurance.
Motion to go into closed session. Roll call, Michelle, yes. I'm going to the bathroom.
Second.
Move on.
Trustee Howdy Shell.
And if you lock me out, I am leaving. My keys are in my pocket, and you can have my shit.
So I have a motion and a second and a roll call vote.
Motion going to close session.
No, she already made the motion and it was seconded and she voted aye. Trustee Howdy Shell.
Aye.
Trustee Long.
Aye.
Trustee Khan.
Aye.
Trustee Goodman. President Lysick is an aye as well. We will be in closed session in 1 minute. Anybody needs to use the washroom? It's going to be a good time.
You might miss that spot someday. It's entertaining. Obviously, she wants to be done. How do you tell me tired? That's old guys.
I look at my watch, I don't even have one.
Are we done yet?
There's a smack ton on the agenda tonight.